Hey everyone, this is FaZe and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the Apple products that I absolutely loved. And yes, that's past tense. I loved. And that's the iPad mini. And it's one of those devices that was one of the best Apple products in my mind for a very, very long time. And it was a digital companion of mine that traveled with me everywhere I went. It's a device that I really liked, and I've done multiple videos on the iPad mini. I've called it one of the best e-readers, comparing it to devices like Kindles and Kobos. Obviously, Kindles and Kobos have a e-ink display, which is obviously much better than that of an LCD display on an iPad mini, but I still called it a great e-reader because of its great form factor and overall user experience, especially with the fact that you can see and enjoy true color when you're reading graphic novels and stuff like that. So I would use it primarily as an ebook reader half the time. In the second half of the time, I would use it as a content consumption device. In fact, I did an entire video where I called the iPad mini the best content consumption device. And I said that it's the best iPad overall if you just want to, browse through social media, read some mails, browse through Safari, shop on Amazon for those very light tasks that you don't want to get a larger iPad for or even use your phone for. But you see, in 2024, I've noticed that my consumption on the iPad mini has drastically decreased. And a lot of that has to do with two reasons. One is the all-new iPad Pro with the M4 chip and the OLED display. And the second, the Kindle. And so these two devices alone have kind of destroyed, any chances of me using an iPad mini for the time being. When I got the M4 iPad Pro with the OLED display, I got the 13-inch model. And at first I thought this is going to be impossible to read books on. However, surprisingly, reading on the iPad Pro is actually quite enjoyable. And I've done a full video talking about my reading experience on the iPad Pro. It's great with the OLED display because I literally will just turn the screen into night mode or dark mode where the background turns black and then you just have white text. It's much more easier on the eye to read on the OLED display than any previous displays. And especially when you have True Tone and Night Shift on, it's much easier on the eye overall. So I enjoy reading on the iPad Pro because, this is a device that goes with me everywhere. I use it as my main computer. And because I use it as my main computer, I kind of don't want to be carrying multiple iPads with me wherever I go. And so I always thought that I would take this with me for all my computing, and I would take my iPad mini with me when it came to reading ebooks and just consuming simple content. However, I do enjoy reading books on this, and I love enjoying content on this. I would rather go on Instagram on this than the iPad mini because the colors are so nice and rich and vibrant. And it's got the promotion display, which when you go back to the iPad mini or any device that doesn't have promotion, that device feels very slow and laggy. So when I use the iPad mini now, after coming from the iPad Pro and the iPhone 15, it just doesn't feel right, So when I want to consume content or even read books, I don't mind using the iPad Pro. Once again, it's already going with me everywhere I go, and it's a lot thinner and lighter. So using it in one hand doesn't feel so wrong like it did before. And once again, when you're reading books and documents, you can view it in a 2-page layout because of this large screen display. And of course, if you go for the 11-inch, you can still enjoy that. But with the 11-inch, you can read books on vertical mode, and that's a lot more acceptable. Whereas with such a big device, you kind of want to hold it horizontal, and you also get to view more content overall with the larger display. So when it comes to content consumption, I kind of enjoy the iPad Pro a lot more because now when I go to the iPad mini, the colors just they don't feel as accurate. And of course, when you don't have that promotion display, it feels very lethargic almost to be using that display. It feels very dated. And this is something that I always tell people, that once you get used to the ProMotion display, it's almost hard to go back to anything else. And I use ProMotion on my iPad. I have ProMotion on my iPhone Pro. So iPad mini just feels slow now, and I just don't enjoy that process overall. So when it comes to content consumption and reading books, I actually don't mind doing any of that or all of that on the iPad Pro. It's quite fantastic. And when it comes specifically to reading books, I've kind of gone back to the Kindle because it's so much thinner, it's so much lighter and smaller, and I can just toss it around my backpack and it goes with me everywhere. It gives you amazing battery life. And of course, an e-ink display is a better option when it comes to reading books, right? LCD displays are great. And with the iPad mini, what I actually did is I put a matte screen protector on it, which, reduced glare significantly. However, I like the thinness and the lightness of this. It's much, much better. And another thing that I'm kind of confused about the iPad mini is the iPhone this year, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, is slated to have a 6.9-inch display. That's almost 7 inches. So when you're getting a larger iPhone, and especially if you're using the iPhone Pro Max, then you don't feel like there's a big difference between the Pro Max iPhone and the iPad mini. And I've been a Pro Max iPhone user for quite some time, and I'm definitely going to get the new 16 Pro Max with that almost 7-inch display. I'm quite excited for it. So it's almost like you've got a 7-inch iPhone, and then you have an 8.3-inch iPad mini. 1.3 inches does not warrant an all-new product category. So if you have a Pro Max and you're using it for social media and reading emails and stuff like that, you don't necessarily need an iPad mini. And if you're reading books, you don't have to spend $400 on the iPad mini when you can get yourself a Kindle for way cheaper. And the best thing is, I can have my Kindle and my iPad Pro, and it just works. This combination just works. However, if Apple makes 3 adjustments to the iPad mini, I will go back in a heartbeat, because as much as I love this, obviously when it comes to reading graphic novels and documents with color, it's not the best, right? And the user experience of opening up the Books app on an iPad mini or any iPad, that's just beautiful. I know that's very dumb of me to say, but it's just so beautiful to be flipping through the pages on the app of both the Kindle or the Apple Books app on an iPad. So the first thing I want Apple to do is give it an OLED display. You know, when you compare the iPad mini to an iPhone or an iPad, it just doesn't look as bright. It looks, the colors are just not as accurate or vibrant. So if they give it an OLED display, then what I would do is whenever I'm reading a book, I would just turn the background black, because when you have an OLED display and you have black, then the pixels are basically turned off. So it's using less energy and it's just the white text that you're looking at. But technically they brought the OLED display to the non-Pro iPhones. So if they can bring an OLED display to a non-Pro device, then they can bring it to an iPad mini. And I can see them doing that. So if they bring the OLED display, that would be phenomenal. So the second thing I want them to do is add ProMotion. And I know that's too much for asking, because ProMotion is a Pro feature. There's a reason why it's called ProMotion, and you only get it with the iPhone Pro series and the iPad Pro series. It's a Pro feature, but if it was brought to the iPad mini, it would feel so much more advanced and modern, because now if you're using a device in 2024 and it doesn't have a 120 hertz display, it feels slow and it feels dated. And the third thing that I really want Apple to do is increase the display size of the iPad mini. Now, overall, the form factor of the iPad mini is fantastic. The size is very similar to that of a paperback book, and I really like that size, but I do think that the bezel feels a little thick now. At the time when the iPad mini, the 6th gen came out, it felt modern and unique. But now when you look at it, the bezels do seem kind of thick. And rumor does have it that Apple is working on a larger iPad mini. Reports are suggesting that the new iPad mini might have a display size of 8.7 inches or higher. And I think that would be fantastic, because Apple doesn't really need to do a whole lot. They just need to slim down the bezels, maybe make the device just a hair bigger, and there you go. You still get to enjoy that same beautiful form factor and size, yet get a much bigger display. So if Apple brings those 3 enhancements, ProMotion, OLED, and a larger screen size, I'm going back to the iPad mini, because yes, I love the Kindle. It's the best e-reader in my opinion, and obviously all the e-readers that have an e-ink display, it's much easier to read on those than that of an LCD display, but OLED does make a difference. And that's where I realized when I started reading on the iPad Pro. Once again, I don't read it too much on here because this form factor is not as great as this form factor. But having said that, I still love the iPad mini. It just is beginning to feel dated. But at the end of the day, I want to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the iPad mini? Do you think it's still a great device, or what enhancements and updates are you waiting for it to receive? Whatever your thoughts are, be sure to leave them down in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time.